It is your Feel Good Breakfast show right here on S3. And in terms of feeling good on a Tuesday, one of our favorite things to do is to get into relationships, my love. Yes, we are 100% getting into it as well because we're in the month of love. But I think that getting to navigate what exactly it is we do each and every day, which is relationshiping with the people that we love, it is so important in terms of understanding how we can do it best and even knowing what the societal pressures are on each and every one of the relationships that we have. So this is why this morning we have got an absolute queen in the building. She's going to be chatting to us about the ways in which we can navigate these very, very difficult things sometimes, but also just sometimes what it means in terms of having something different to someone else, right? So we have got a societal lady, someone who I definitely believe is going to guide us through it. I am talking about the lovely lady. It is Tracy Zeman-Jacobs, who is an intimacy and relationship coach as well as a social worker. Hello, Tracy.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You look so beautiful and green.
Thank you. Oh, my mother would hate that. It's mustard, please.
Is it mustard? Forgive me. Clearly, I don't have the right eyes. You know what? But it's okay, Tracy, because you're here to give us the right eyes when it comes to love and when it comes to navigating all of these different societal pressures when it comes to relationships. So please, can I first and foremost ask you, what exactly do you do?
Sure. So I am a qualified social worker and I specialize in intimacy and relationships.
Yes.
And a lot of the time, intimacy is misconstrued with sex, but really intimacy is about connection.
Yes.
So we do talk about sexual intimacy in the 5 different types of ways in which couples can connect in their relationships. And so we look at those different ways during our sessions and couples can identify where exactly it is they may be lacking or whether they're very strong. So, yes.
I love that. And I think that it's always so important to have someone who can kind of help us navigate those things sometimes because you need a bit of an external person to come and be a part of that, right?
Yes.
But let's get into it. Relationship pressures. I feel like so many people feel it, whether it's from social media or whether it's from your own people who are around you. And I know that one of the biggest things as well when it comes to societal pressures, forgive me, is us 100% understanding when we talk about religion and culture and everything that encompasses. So please speak to us about that a little bit.
We have enormous pressure at a certain age in our lives to get married, have children. And I think that society does put too much pressure on young people to get married too quickly. As soon as you match a certain age, then we want to marry you off, and when you're starting to have children. And so religious institutions as well, they kind of put pressure on a young couple to get married because of a lot of the time they subscribe to no sex before marriage. And so the couples who are observant do need to consummate their marriage under religious boundaries. Yeah. And so family also tend to put so much pressure. You're now 20-something and you're reaching an old age.
Oh, Tracy, you're speaking to so many of us. The aunts and uncles, they don't stop at Christmas time.
Yeah, yes. And it's like, why? You know, really, a single person can be a very strong individual and they can live a very full life.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that our goal is to be single, absolutely not. Yeah. We need to be in couples. We need to be coupled. Yeah. The world is built for couples, and also we need connection with close people in our lives.
100%. And, you know, just in terms of those different connections, I feel like it's always so important to be able to nurture them in the best way possible. And sometimes it's about getting to the place that you need to be, not when you're 21, but rather when you're like 28 and are able to do exactly that. But then, Tracy, speak to me about this, because, of course, I mentioned the aunts and uncles who make life difficult for us. You know, times are different for all of us. You know what I mean? In the sense that for them, getting married before 25 was a norm. Whereas I know for my generation, a lot of us, it's either people are getting married, you know, after 25, or a lot of people are like, they only want to get married when they're in their 30s. So talk to us about the times that have changed.
Well, funnily enough, times haven't changed that much.
Oh, really?
And especially culturally and in, religious settings, there's still this pressure to get married earlier. The thing is that from my perspective, and some people will definitely argue with me
Yes.
that the later on in your 20s you get married, the better.
Yes.
And that's because the adult brain only finishes developing around 28.
Do you see?
You see.
Yeah.
And so we make very, very important decisions like our partners for life, having children, where to live, at such a young age when our adult brains are not ready. Everything changes after 28. And so we also need to become individuals before we can become one. So our 20s are about becoming individuals.
Yes, and discovering yourself.
Exactly. We need to have a degree, start working. Maybe we might change our minds about the path we're studying, the career path we're going on. Then we need to work in the world. We need to be exposed to different people. We need to have different experiences. We need to be able to travel, if that is something. And we really need to be individuals, whole individuals, before we're forced into a couple.
Yes.
And we don't really know ourselves.
Sure, I love that. And Tracy, I feel like when we talk about people and them coming to know themselves as well, a decision that a lot of the people in my life have taken is that they never want to get married, but they want to find a life partner. So can we jump into that? Because I feel like it's such a big conversation that sometimes parents don't even understand, where you're like, I don't want to have this whole big marriage thing. I don't want to have to sign a document to say that I'm committed to someone, but I just want to have a life partner.
Yeah. Again, culturally, tradition, religious institutions do prescribe that we have to be married. And it's very difficult to fight against those prescriptions.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of strength for this couple to actually stand autonomously and decide, we're not doing the whole societal thing.
Yes.
We want to do it our way. And a lot of the time that piece of paper tends to sometimes change things in the relationship.
I've heard of it.
And also, you know, when you're cohabiting, and the idea is, you know, why buy the cow if you can get the milk for free? You know, there's also the idea of, once you're living together and la bola has been paid, what is the point of actually getting this now? You know, sometimes the men can delay and delay and delay the actual wedding process because now they've paid for you, they own you. So it's okay to delay some of those really traditional expectations, because we're modern people today.
100%. And even in the sense of, you know, being married in a customary way or even a cultural way, that's enough for a lot of us. You know what I'm saying? Because you are married at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can go to the city hall and you don't need a whole performance, or you can just be committed to each other completely.
100%.
So there's a little bit of a grey area there as well.
100%. But then let's talk about now in terms of, you know, where people sometimes find themselves not being able to or haven't been able to, let's say, communicate what it is they want and what it is they desire in a relationship, especially because of those different pressures that they get from the outside. Can we dive into that a little bit?
Sure. So it's very important, I believe, that the couple who are struggling with communication do see a therapist, like myself. And we look at how can we strengthen connection through communication. And we start off at the beginning of the relationship, when the relationship is nice and fresh. Or even couples who've been together for more than 5 years, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, before they're ready to tie the knot. Somehow that sometimes changes the whole relationship. But then it's important that we learn more about each other. And there are no kind of surprises.
Come on.
In the marriage.
Like that. Because people like to surprise each other, Tracy. Now people are getting divorced, huh? That's why so many people were busy surprising each other in 2020, because they didn't have enough time together.
Right.
Yes. Right. But this is the thing, right? Here on Expresso, we're jumping into this conversation oh so deep and oh so nicely with Tracy Zeeman-Jacobs. And trust me, you want to stick around, because coming up, we're going to be talking all about having kids before marriage, as well as staying together before before marriage. What can it do to a relationship? What does it mean for you a lot of the time? And we're just going to be getting into that conversation. And I know it is one that is always so hot at the braai and everywhere in between. Do not go anywhere, though, because you're on Expresso right here on S3.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back, Expresso family. We always have a little bit of a checklist here on Expresso, right? And it is it the morning? Yes, it is. Then we're asking as well, are you feeling good? 100%, which means you are on your feel-good breakfast show. This morning, we're getting into relationship dynamics, all in the name of finding out about the pressures from society, which can sometimes infiltrate these relationships of ours that mean so much to us, which is why we brought in an expert. I am talking about social worker as well as intimacy and relationship expert. It is none other than the queen, Tracy Zeman-Jacobs. Tracy, we of course said we were going to be jumping into kids before marriage as well as living together before marriage. So let's start first and foremost with kids before marriage. Speak to us about how this, impacts the family and how it can sometimes, allow us to sort of take a different route in the way that people have traditionally done things before.
Kids before marriage, it all depends as well whether you arrive in the relationship with children of your own, and whether your partner does too or not.
Yes.
And then we're looking at the dynamics of blended families.
Yes.
And that can be tricky, but can also be quite smooth. I think the couple definitely does need some guidance when it comes to, working out those dynamics.
Yeah.
And then, you also have to be aware that there is a biological mother, there is a biological father,
Yeah.
and how are we going to navigate those boundaries? That's very important. Also, if the couple decides that they want to have children, or let's say organically the relationship unfolds, that the beautiful young lady falls pregnant and they are not married, then the couple have a decision to make. Are we going to keep the baby? Are we not going? Whatever's good for the couple.
Yes.
And then there's all types of dynamics as well that come with that. But from a positive aspect, children can really bring such a beautiful energy to a relationship. But I have to be honest, they do change the whole nature of that relationship too.
This is true. This is very true. And I guess that's also why it's such a big journey to go on when you decide that you want to be a parent, especially with someone else or even in a blended family, like you said. But then we also, of course, get the societal pressures in terms of family and religious beliefs when we're talking about kids before marriage. Let's jump into that. What are some of the things that you've dealt with when it comes to that?
Yeah. So when I deal with couples who have fallen pregnant out of wedlock, it's, initially from a religious and a cultural perspective, depends on the culture. It's actually not a problem. It's quite a natural phenomenon that that women do fall pregnant out of marriage, and it's almost to test fertility and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to other cultures and other religions, definitely they are shunned upon, they are sometimes excommunicated. But then it's also very important that they have the support of their family and loved ones. It is a challenge. So if I do deal with a couple who are experiencing that kind of struggle, then we really look at the autonomy of the relationship, setting boundaries with others, and really how are we going to prepare this couple for the coming baby. And it's going to be under different scenarios.
And in terms of you talking about autonomous decisions, what are some of those decisions that you normally find people find very difficult to make when it comes to autonomous decisions?
In families that are very, very close, very enmeshed families, where there's a lot of interference from a lot of the close family members.
Oh, and that mother-in-law will interfere.
Yeah,
Tracy. Yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
Some cultures is really, really difficult to put that boundaries in place.
Yes.
But today we really need to be putting in those boundaries for ourselves. Boundaries need to be like a buzzword that we are constantly putting. Just like communication, boundaries, these are the buzzwords that we need to be using all the time to make sure that our relationship is safe and that there's no conflict between us, that I'm not in a place where I have to choose between my partner or my family. And it's a hard road to navigate.
It is, but the families must stay outside the boundary. They like things.
If possible, absolutely.
Yes. But my Tracy, let's talk about now in terms of living together before marriage. I know that it is something that a lot of people do because they feel like you need to get to know your partner before you say, okay, this is the person that I'm actually marrying and I know them in and out. But let's talk about the fact that, you know, there are a lot of people who sometimes feel like, you know, you're getting everything, and you mentioned it earlier on in terms of getting the milk, but then why should I then keep the cow if I'm getting it for free?
Yeah.
Can we jump into that, please?
Sure. Sometimes it's a very good thing to live with your partner before marriage, because you really do get to know each other.
Yeah.
And you get to know each other under stressful situations, under happy situations.
Yeah.
You really get to see all of your partner. But then the disadvantage is that you're kind of always living with one foot in the door and one foot out the door. So again, a very fine line between what makes a committed relationship.
Yes.
How can we really know that we're committed to each other, living together without that piece of paper?
Sure.
Some cultures, some religious scorn couples for frown upon them for doing this. It's really taboo. So the couple again have to do what's good for them.
Yes.
I have to say though that even I get a lot of couples who have lived together before they got married, and when they get married, they're still finding out new things about each other because we change so much through the ages. We are a certain way in our 20s, and then we become another way in our 30s and 40s and 50s and so on. So nothing can really stay the same.
But some of them are false advertising, Tracy. When they sign, then they become someone different. But I also want to ask real quick before we let you go, my Tracy, because I know how busy you are. To anyone out there who is thinking, you know what, I'm either too good for therapy or therapy is not for me, what do you say to those people?
It is the best gift that you can give yourself and your relationship if you're open to learning about yourself and your partner. It's a very beautiful experience. It's a beautiful journey that you can take yourself and your relationship on.
Come on, and it's also all about the growth, right?
Absolutely. That's the
100%.
journey.
Thank you so much, Tracy. We appreciate you. And I'm sure we'll see you again soon with all of your knowledge.
Thank you, Zanele. It's been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure indeed, Expresso family. Making sure that your relationships are relationshiping the right way in the month of love especially, right? But we still have so much to do between now and 9 o'clock, which is why you need to stick around because it's still going to be oh so good. And the beautiful Cape Town family, Zoe and Ewan out in the dining room. What's happening, guys?